All right, we are going to be discussing one of my favorite topics today, and that is email. And why it's my favorite topic is because, well, I've been using it for a very long time, and it works very, very well in business. And if you are thinking that email is dead, I am here to tell you that it is not. And the reason why it's not is because you might be watching this right now and you might have came from an email that I sent out, or you might have, well, just seen it here on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you are. But email is not dead, and we're using it every single day. And I'm using it in our brand creators brand. I'm using it in all of the other brands that we are running right now. And I've used it for the last 15 years. And no joke, and I'm not saying this to brag or anything like that, but definitely have generated millions of dollars through email over the years. So this is something that you want to pay attention to. This is something I do not see anyone talking about for Etsy or print on demand or selling products on other platforms. I don't hear anyone talking about that, especially for Etsy. So Chris, are you as fired up as I am to dig in to email marketing for Etsy or for print on demand? Are you excited?
Dude, the only thing that gets me more excited than talking about email is just talking about how to make business better in general. And Scott, to me, email is probably the number one most underrated marketing thing that you can do, whether you're only selling on Etsy, whether you have a Shopify store, whatever it is that you're doing. If you are selling something online and you're not taking advantage of email, I'm just going to flat out say you're doing it wrong. It's not to say that Facebook ads don't work. It's not to say that Etsy ads or Amazon ads or whatever it is doesn't work. But email time and time again has proven to be kind of the number one thing that you can do to sell anything online. And every time they ask e-commerce marketers in general, what their top return on investment channel is, it always comes back as email. Yeah. And the other thing is, it takes like a minute to write an email that can sell you something, right? It's one of the lowest time investment things that you can do. And it's one of the highest return on investment things that you can do. And most online sellers either aren't doing it, they're doing it wrong, or they're ignoring it completely, right? They kind of know it exists, they're ignoring it completely, or they're doing it wrong and they think that they have to build these big fancy emails. We wanted to talk today about using email marketing specifically for Etsy, but the rules and the guidelines that we're laying out do really apply to anybody in the e-commerce world, whether you're selling on Etsy, off of Etsy, as long as you have a place online that someone can buy something from you, physical, digital, whatever it is. The same steps that work here, obviously with the Etsy specific things included, and we're going to talk about some of those, will apply to your business as well. And so it has me fired up. I know I've sent a couple emails this week for some e-commerce clients, have generated thousands of dollars in revenue from, don't tell all of them, but 30 minutes an hour worth of work, right? Several $1,000s for an hour. I'll take that all day, every day. And so I love email. I know you love email. And I think most people ignore it because it's not the sexy thing to talk about anymore. And we're always focused on tweaking our listings or tweaking our website.
Yeah.
And we're ignoring the things that we can spend a little bit of time on and get a much, much bigger return on investment from.
Well, and I think everyone, and it's normal, right? You want to focus on the platform, which we do. Like we all want to take, all of our time and really focus on the platform that we are making sales. And in this case, we're talking about Etsy. But what's really cool is when we're able to think like a marketer now, right? Like a business, and say, how do I drive targeted traffic to my Etsy shop? Now I'm not just relying on Etsy or Amazon or Redbubble or whatever platform you're on. We are now in control, in a sense, of our traffic. And what we're about to share with you, again, we've been using it for years. I'm going to share a couple of stories with you on how I've used emails, because they're ones that just really kind of shifted my thinking and really made me realize how powerful it really is. But once you understand it, and once you start building your own email list of targeted people, that's the key here. And we're going to go over some ways that you can build a list. We're going to talk about ways you can use email. That's why we're titling this the Ultimate Email Marketing Guide, and really how to increase your traffic and sales, because we want this to be the ultimate resource for you to understand it, but then also to apply it. So you'll walk away today from actually things that you can do. One thing I want to do here, even if you're watching this in the replay or if you're here live, drop in the comments. Are you currently building an email list, or are you currently using email in your business? So I'd just be curious to know in the comments. Do that for us. Even if you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and let us know in the comments. That would be absolutely amazing. But those are some things that we're going to be covering, and that's why I'm really excited to dig in. So let me just kind of kick it off with a story and really what made me open my eyes with email. But then I'm going to share that second story on where I kind of tested it again and it worked. And I was like, oh, wow, that was years later and it worked again. So I'm going to take you back in time. And this is going back probably close to 15 to 17 years ago. All right. And is when I was just getting introduced to online and business and marketing and really email. And my wife and I owned a photography business, and we were transitioning to teaching online back in the day. And we ended up building a little email list. And I built it all through YouTube, by the way, guys. So back in the day, before YouTube was as big as it is, I built an email list of about 1,000 people for photography, in that photography niche, because I was taking what I was doing, and I've done that all along. If you've been following me for any period of time, you always know I kind of teach what I'm doing and what I'm working on currently. And at that time, we were in photography, and then I was sharing with people Photoshop editing and really how to run a successful, studio, out of your home. And that's what I was doing. So I built a list of 1,000 people, and I was just learning email. I was learning how it worked, and I was using Aweber back in the day. And we're going to talk about Aweber here in a little bit and who we use for our email and all of that stuff. So stay tuned for that. But here was where life changed for me forever. My wife and I, again, we were just trying this thing out online and seeing if we could build a little course to show people about Photoshop and kind of like how to do editing and how to create these nice, beautiful pictures that you could sell in your studio. And I went ahead and built that email list to 1,000 people. Well, I was sending them different things over the maybe 3-4 month period, 5-month period. And I was just sending them things that I was learning or discovering, and then I was sharing it with them. And then I went ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to try to launch a program because people were asking if I would help them. And so I ended up launching a program, but I ended up using email to launch it. And this is where my life changed forever. I actually sent out my first email to let them know that it was live and they could purchase it. And within probably like 2 hours, I had over $5,000 in orders. First time that's ever happened to me. That's from email. And then that went on to do about $12,500. All right. So that was just from email. Now that was years ago. You'd be like, well, yeah, email was good back then. Right. Well, after that, I went on to continually use that through the years. And then I would say more a recent story where I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and try this, build an email list again, right, in an e-com business, because that worked in not so much in e-com. I mean, it was digital products. It wasn't physical. And I said, let me try this here in a brand that we were starting about 4 or 5 years ago now. Actually, it's been 5 years ago, I think it was. So we went ahead and built this, and our whole goal was to sell stuff on Amazon and build this brand. And so the very first thing I wanted to do was build an email list. And guess what? Using a strategy that we're going to teach you here in today's episode here, we actually went on to build that first email list to, I think it was around 2,500 to 3,000 people. And then we went on to launch products on Amazon and get them to rank in the number 1 to 5 position. And those products went on to do really well. And then that also is what really started and kickstarted that business that went on to do over 7 figures in sales on Amazon. And we sold that business around 2 years ago now. Okay. All from email. We built the email list before we even had products. So why am I sharing that story with you? Well, because it's a lot like what we're doing on Etsy, right? Same thing applies. Find people that are interested in what you have to offer, what you're selling. And then from there, start to let them know that they can buy it. Like that's basically it in a nutshell. Now there's some nuances there and stuff, and we're going to talk through that. But guys, that's what we're talking about. That's how email can really, really change your business because you control it. All right. Now, in brand creators, I'll be totally transparent with you guys. We've been using email for over 8-9 years, however long we've been doing this thing, Chris. I forgot how long we've been actually at this. It's at least 7 years. And we have been using email for that business. Okay. And that's one of our primary channels that we send out an email and people read it. They open it, they click it. They might go over and see a piece of content. They might come on over and buy something, or we might do a promotion for a new upcoming class. It's the same principles. We just adapt it to the business. All right. And in this case, today we're talking about Etsy. All right. So Chris, anything you want to add there, or is there any questions that we've had come in that we want to address there before we move into more tactical stuff?
No, I think in terms of questions, I think you covered kind of the basic idea of this, right? And how powerful it actually is. And Scott, I'm actually a little offended because this is technically our anniversary. It was tax day 2015.
Really?
Is when like the first time that we launched something together with email. I know I didn't get you a gift either, although there may be something showing up in the next few days. It's kind of an inside joke from last week, but that had nothing to do with this. I just happened to look at the calendar, but I believe it was April 15th, 2015 is when we did that, just based on the screenshots that we've seen in the past. Granted, we were working together before that, but that was kind of the official kickoff of that. Yeah. I think the biggest thing people struggle with in terms of email is they think it's no longer effective, right? They say, hey, that worked in 2015 or it worked in 2017, 2018 when you launched your last e-commerce brand that you sold during the P word, right? And so it doesn't work anymore. And the simple fact is it actually works just as well, if not better now than it did previously. And, I can go through all kinds of numbers and stuff if people are really interested in that, but it really boils down to one number. And I mentioned this a minute ago, Scott, 42-to-1 return on investment, right? And we've talked in the past about what a good return on investment or return on ad spend would be for something like Etsy ads or Facebook ads, right? Yeah. You could get a 4-to-1 or a 5-to-1 return on that ad spend. You could scale that infinitely, right? That would be solid gold. Email marketing is $42 to every $1 that you invest in it. And we see it time and time again. And I mentioned when we first started, Scott, I sent an email to an e-commerce brand. They sell a $24 product, list of over right around 11,000 people, right? I sent it yesterday afternoon. It's done just shy of $3,000 in sales on a $24 product, right? Now that's not on Etsy, that's on their own website, but the same principles applies here, right? Yeah. All we're doing is sending them to a place where they can buy something from the email channel. And as long as we're able to get in front of them, which we are, especially when people subscribe and are on our email list and we're doing the things that we're going to be talking about, then we can point them wherever we want. So even if we're not trying to monetize them by sending them to Etsy, if we have a blog that has ads on it, we can send them there and get some ad revenue. If we're selling on Amazon, we can send them there. If we're selling on Shopify, we can send them there. If we're selling on WooCommerce, we can send them there. If we're selling on Etsy, we can send them there as well. And so, Scott, that begs the question, what is the exact strategy that we used to launch our last e-commerce brand? And how is that something that people could use to launch and promote their Etsy products? Is that something that would still work today? And are there any changes that you would make to that?
Yeah, 100% it would. And I mean, we'll get into the full tactics, but I'll give you guys the 10,000 foot view because I do have it in my notes here to kind of go through exactly how we would do that. And there's actually a video going to be coming out that's dedicated to just this strategy that I'm going to be releasing on YouTube. So once again, if you're watching this on YouTube and you are not yet subscribed, make sure you do that because you'll be notified when that goes live. And if you're watching this on Facebook, probably want to go to YouTube and subscribe for that as well. And if you're on the podcast, well, come on over and hang out with us at brandcreators.com/group. And you can get notified over there. All right. So I'm going to go deeper into that, but yeah. So here was the thought. Okay. Here's the thinking behind it. So just kind of go through the thinking and why this makes sense. And then you decide if it makes sense. But this is how we look at it. And this is how it's worked really, really well multiple times in multiple brands and multiple niches. All right. And I've got friends of mine that are high level 7-figure sellers on Amazon that have used this same strategy. All right. So the idea is this: we want to attract people. Now, not necessarily they have to be on Etsy. If they're on Etsy, yes, 100%, that's who we want. But I really don't care right now if they're on Etsy. I just want to make sure that these people are people that would be interested in the thing that I have to offer. So for us at the time, it was on Amazon. We wanted to launch on Amazon because at that time we were doing FBA and private labeling. Okay. And which doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter about that. That doesn't matter. The place that the transaction was going to happen was on Amazon. We were driving traffic there to boost our rankings, which the same thing happens on Etsy, by the way, guys. Just want to let you know. All right. So what we ended up doing was coming up with, and get this, we didn't even have our own products yet. All right. We didn't even have our own products. So what we ended up doing was we knew the products we were going to be creating, but it's a lot harder when you're doing private label. You have to manufacture them. You have to get samples and you have to, rework the products and all that stuff. That's why print on demand is so much easier. And so I love it so much more because we don't have to worry about that. That's on another note. So basically what we had to do is come up with some things that we know that people would want, right? That they would actually want to receive. So we went out and found, I think it was 3 or 4 products, okay, that were related to the products that we were going to be selling. Okay. That's a big one right there. So you might want to write that one down. We want to attract people that would potentially want to buy our products. How did we do that? We found other products that were related to it that could probably act as an accessory or something that you would buy with it. Okay. The mistake that we see people making is, well, people will just put up a gift card. Anyone would want a gift card, right? But if you created something like the ultimate bass fishing kit, right, with a fishing pole and a net and, a tackle box, right? We know for the most part that people signing up for that are probably going to, or that are going to want that, are probably going to, be interested in bass fishing. So that was the big thing. So that's what we did. So we took that, we created this bundle, and we went ahead, we threw some ads on it, Facebook ads. I think we might have started at like $5 a day, $10 a day. And I think we ended up spending about $1 per email at that time. So it was probably, let's just call it $3,000. And we built that email list with that. And then what we ended up doing was we ended up doing what we call our profit push promo, which we'll share that with you guys here in a little bit. So hang tight for that. And then basically we just let people know that we had stuff that was launching on Amazon, and it did really well. And the reason why it did really well was because we attracted the people that were interested in that type of product. So that's basically it. 10,000 foot view. That's what we did. And it worked really, really well. And we ended up building that email list to over 30,000 when we ended up selling the brand. And now that wasn't all paid. We actually, once you kind of get that momentum, you're able to start building your list internally, which we'll talk about through Etsy in this case. You can also build it by, if you have a website and you want to get people in that way. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do it. We're going to go over list building here shortly, but that's it in a nutshell. That's what we did, and it worked really, really well. That answer your question, Chris?
It absolutely does. And I think one of the things, Scott, that a lot of people miss with that is they miss the starting point of that, right? We have to offer something that is really kind of cool. One of the nice thing about Etsy, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, is you can start to build your email list without having to even think about that, right? They give us the built-in ability to move customers onto an email list, but at some point we are going to want to think about that. And one thing I wanted to point out in the Etsy context is that becomes extremely difficult to do if you are not a niche focused store. If you're in that garage sale mode, or you're selling, mugs or t-shirts, and you're not serving a niche, it becomes much harder to take advantage of something like this. So that is one thing I wanted to point out before we moved on.
That's a big one. It's
another reason that we advocate for that approach. It's not that we just love niches. It's that it makes everything so much easier from a marketing perspective, because we know exactly, and I saw somebody use the term avatar in the comments. We know exactly who to market to. And if we're doing something outside of the Etsy ecosystem to help boost traffic, if we're trying to grow an email list, if we're trying to build a real brand, whether it's email or ads or whatever it is, it becomes much, much easier to do if we understand who that person is and what they actually want at the end of the day, whether it's our product, whether it's something related to the niche, whatever that thing is. it helps us identify that a lot faster, which means we spend less on ads. It means everything that we do is substantially more effective. So that was one thing I wanted to point out before we move on.
Yeah, Chris, let's dig into that one area though. I think is really, really important, is like why we are a big fan of creating a brand, right? I mean, our name is brand creators for this brand, right? Because we really strongly believe it. And it doesn't mean it has to be this massive brand. It could be a micro brand, which I'm a fan of, by the way, right? And so I think it's really important to understand that, because if you're just selling random stuff in a store, it's going to be really hard to make an email list work for you, to be honest, right? And the reason why is because you're going to send, if someone bought a t-shirt from you and it was a trend that you jumped on, right? And then maybe 3 months later, you got someone else that came in on another shirt or sweatshirt or some other item that's not related to that other item. It's two different people, right? And so the chances of them buying that are really, really low. But imagine you have an email list now from someone that bought a shirt and it had a certain design on it for a certain time of year, let's say. It was Easter, right? And then you had another one come out and it was for a different holiday, right? But the same person would be interested because the design is related to it. Like if it's a gardener, it might be a gardener for Easter, and then it might be a gardener for Christmas or whatever, right? You get what I'm saying, or a bass fisherman or whatever, right? So anytime that we can do that, now we're able to email the list with other products that are related to products that they've already purchased, right? If you don't have that and you're just doing the garage sale approach, not going to probably work, right? Then it's just a matter of a numbers game and you're just going to throw a whole bunch of stuff at the wall. Hopefully something sticks, but you really don't have a brand at that point, right? Even someone that all they're doing is they're a personalization brand. Chris, what's that brand that does all the personalization? They're a big brand. I think it's called like something. Gosh, it used to be in all the malls and everything. I forget the name of it. I thought you might know what it is, but it's all they do is personalization. You used to always go into the store. You could go in there and they would engrave things on it and stuff. Like, I forget the name of it. If you guys know what it is, drop it in the comments. It's going to bug me now. But if you're just creating a t-shirt brand, do you remember you go into like a store and you'd see all of the t-shirt iron-ons up there with a number on it, and you'd walk in and you'd be like, yeah, I want that one. It's a monster truck. Or you'd be over here, be like, oh, I want that one. It's, whatever, a college kid, right? That's in a sense what you're doing when you're launching one of those stores. You're just a t-shirt shop that does all different designs for all different niches, right? How are you going to send an email? Things to remember, or things remembered. There you go, Karen. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to have an amazing day because I won't have to be thinking all day what that was. So that's awesome. Thank you. So that's why we don't like that approach, right? Everything. Think about if all you do is every week you send out an email to your list, letting them know about a new item or a special that you're having, or asking them if they have any ideas that they would like you to create, something like that. It becomes so much easier because you're not having to think about, okay, I got to jump on this trend or I got to go find the next trend. It's like, what is the next product? So it makes creating products easier when you create a brand, but it also creates building an email list, which will also fuel your business. It's also an asset that you own and control. So we've talked about this before on lives where we're looking at like, well, you can't sell an Etsy business. No, but you can sell your designs and you can sell your Shopify if you have one, and you can sell an email list, which, by the way, if you have an email list, the amount that you'll get paid for that brand will increase because now you have a traffic channel that you own. So I just wanted to throw that in there, Chris. That's why it's so important to have an email list that is built into the brand in a sense.
Yeah, regardless of whether you're going to sell this at some point or not, in the short term, you should be taking advantage of the traffic and sales benefits. And again, we'll get into all of that here in just a minute. But also keep in mind in the back of your head, if you are one of the people that are thinking about building a long-term thing here, you want to eventually have your own website, something like that, you need to be thinking about this from Jump Street. Right? You need to think about this from day one on Etsy. How can I get people off of Etsy? And at the beginning, the goal is not to send them anywhere else. We're going to be sending them back to Etsy. But eventually, once we have our own website, we can send people there. We can send people to other places where we find cool things related to the niche. So being able to have this as soon as we can is an extremely critical portion of what should be your overall marketing mix. And oh, by the way, it makes launching products a heck of a lot easier, right? You and I have talked a whole bunch, Scott, about the hidden secret of Etsy SEO, which is not the first part of their algorithm where they say this listing matches what Scott typed in. It's the part where they say this listing has gotten traffic and sales. Using email can help us shortcut that portion of it, even if all we're doing is selling on Etsy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Let's do this. Because we've got some areas that we want to dig into. We want to kind of go through some strategies and things like that. So I'm going to kind of tee it up here, Chris, and then I want to explore each of these areas, as we kind of move through. And I think it'll be beneficial for everyone listening because, again, I want this to be the ultimate Etsy email marketing guide that people can refer back to as well. All right. So let me just kind of throw it back on you. And I want you to give me, like, in a distilled version, okay, is why should someone be building an email list for and using email marketing for their Etsy business? So what would you say?
Do you want more traffic and sales? Right. And that really is what it comes down to me. There's two things here, Scott, for Etsy sellers specifically that we need to be thinking about. The first is that Etsy, and we've kind of beat this over the head a little bit, but Etsy is making a shift from individual sellers to really liking brands and pushing for brands. They announced a whole bunch of things back in October that were specifically designed, I think it was October, it feels like 2 years ago now, that were specifically designed to help people bond more with brands. Because one of the things that they realized was one of the biggest missing things from the Etsy perspective was repeat customers. And they know that one of the things that they can do that is to help build better relationships with brands. There's not a better way of building connection and community and a responsive community than email marketing. Yes, you can have a Facebook group. Yes, you can have all of these things, but there's not a good way to get in contact with people. If you've been around the marketing world for any period of time, you know that if you have a Facebook group, there's 50,000 people in it, 5,000 people in it, and you get a post and you look at the analytics and 5 people saw it. You have a Facebook page. You have 5,000 fans on your Facebook page. 5 people saw it. And even if you're running Facebook ads, then you have to pay to get to the people that have already signed up to be with you. Email is not like that. It's a way of building personal connection, especially if you do email the right way, the way that we're going to share and the way that we advocate and the way that we actually do email. You're able to build that connection in a very one-on-one way and have an extremely responsive list that is able to then help you drive more traffic and sales. And the way that I like to think about this is it's a friendship, right? And so we're going to help you with the thing that you're interested in, whatever niche we are in. We're going to send you cool information. We're going to point you to some YouTube videos that we found. We're going to do all of those things. We're going to build that goodwill with you. And then when we're ready to move, right, we need some people to help us load up that moving truck. In that case, we're launching a new product, right, in the Etsy ecosystem. We're going to ask for that big favor. Then when we have that goodwill built up, whether it's by being your actual friend and, helping you and doing all of those kinds of things, or in the case of the brand, we are sending you cool things and building the relationship that way. When we're ready to actually ask for something in return, you're able to get that 42-1 or up to a 72-1, depending on who you ask, return on investment from that opportunity. So if you want more traffic and sales in your Etsy store, it's definitely something you should be taking advantage of. And oh, by the way, Scott, you can do it for free.
Yeah, you really, really can. And, there's a bunch of different ways that you can build a list, and we will definitely be discussing that. But yeah, I just want to say, like, when you are serious about your Etsy business, you really do need to think about traffic, right? And not just relying on what everyone else is relying on. Everyone talks about SEO. Is it important? 100% it's important. You should be focusing on that. But the cool thing is when you're driving traffic, targeted traffic, because people we'll get this from people in the comments, probably, whether it's now or in the replay or whatever. They'll be like, yeah, but if the traffic comes over and doesn't convert, it's going to hurt your listing. And yes, that may be true, but we're talking, if you have 1,000 people on an email list and you're getting your typical click-through rate, you might get 100 or 200 people to come over, right? And if they're going to come over and your standard conversion rate is 1% to 2%, you should be converting at 1% to 2%. right, on those people if you have a strong enough offer and all of those things. So I'm not worried about that. I don't think you should be either. What I think that people are confusing that with is like just sending really cheap traffic or running cheap Facebook ads and being really impressed that they're getting 5-cent clicks, but those clicks are not targeted clicks, right? And so what we want to do is always make sure that whatever we're building the list with, they're targeted. If you are on Etsy and you're making sales and you're connected to a Weber now and you're collecting those are people that purchased from you. Those are targeted as heck, right? So we ain't got to worry about that, right? It's about really building the external list, which we'll talk about, but just understand that as long as that list is targeted and you are able to send traffic there on a regular basis, you're going to take your SEO and bring it up a level because you're probably going to generate more sales. And what does Etsy want? They want more sales. How are they going to rank you higher? When you get more sales, right? So all of that stuff kind of, it feeds into the SEO when you're getting all that other stuff, but we're going to be able to pour a little gas on the fire here by sending people there from our email list. So should you be using email? Yes. Should you do it in a way that is very targeted and they're of the right people? Yes. All right. So just want to be clear on that.
But before we move on, Scott, I wanted to touch on that external traffic thing just a little bit, because you and I have, again, this is another thing that you and I have been yelling and screaming about, sometimes literally, especially thanks to all you lovely folks on YouTube that are like, why are you yelling at me? We're not yelling. We're just really passionate about it, right? You'll know when I'm yelling at you. No, I'm just kidding.
You will know when I'm yelling at you.
and we've said there is a grain of truth to that myth. And you just mentioned it. If we are driving untargeted traffic, and I think of that two ways. One, people who aren't at all interested in anything that we would ever have to sell, or two, people who are just kind of looky-loos, right? And especially if we're using the Etsy customers as our base of that list, that really helps us jumpstart a few different areas of the Etsy SEO algorithm. One of the things that we talked about in our deep dive into the algorithm is beyond the obvious factors like the sales and traffic thing, which using email helps with, is that Etsy is really looking for a little bit of personalization. So the kind of hidden thing and the thing that we have the least amount of control over is how likely is this person to buy that specific product. They think about that generally, but they also think about that in terms of buying behavior. And so if we're driving hyper targeted traffic to that listing up front, not only are we getting the benefits of the general factor that they're looking at there, Scott, that is traffic and sales, but we're also helping the Etsy personalization part of the algorithm by saying people who like bass fishing are coming to look at this product. People who like bass fishing things are coming and buying this product. And that even if it's 1% of the algorithm on that side of things, we get a big bump from the traffic and sales, but we also get that nice little incremental bump that we don't have to wait for the Etsy algorithm to give us the benefit of working out who is the ideal person to buy our product, because we already know it's people who like bass fishing stuff. So if we can drive those people to the listing, we get the traffic benefits. That starts the Etsy sales flywheel. We get the favorites and the add to carts. That starts the Etsy flywheel. Then we get the sales benefits. That starts the Etsy flywheel. And then on top of that, we get the little extra cherry on the sundae there of saying, hey, the people who buy bass fishing stuff on Etsy, and we know that that's what they do because they're on our email list and they got there through Etsy, right? They like this listing. And that helps accelerate everything way faster than you think it would.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. Like we call it the Etsy flywheel effect. And it's like, and that goes for anything. If we were on Amazon, it would be the same thing. If we were on eBay, it would be the same thing. It's like, how do you get traffic that converts to sales? That's the key. And that's really, to us, what email does. And it allows us to really be able to direct that traffic to wherever we want. And here's the other thing. If something happened, if something happened and your account got suspended or you couldn't sell anymore and you had a Shopify shop, you could go ahead and direct those people there, let people know, and you could still be in business, right? The other way, we're kind of at risk. So we always want to kind of diversify traffic channels anyway. Okay, we do have some questions coming in. We will address those. A couple of really, really good ones that I'm seeing here. One is like how to prevent your email from going into the spam folders. We can talk about that. There are some things that you can do to help in that. Doesn't mean it'll work every time, but there are some things to do. And I see some big mistakes that people make when writing emails and how they're sending emails that can trigger the spam filters. And then the other quick one was how do we get our previous Etsy customers and shop followers to a brand new email list? We'll definitely talk about that. So Chris, let's highlight those. We'll definitely dig into those. Here's what I want to do next. I'm going to reverse where I was going to go next. I'm going to start with asking you, Chris, a question, and then we are going to, well, you're going to answer, and then I'm going to answer, and we will discuss it, okay? Because I think this is something that a lot of people want to know. And that is, if you were starting over right now, you had nothing, all right, on Etsy, okay? I mean, you have a shop, but you don't have any email list yet. You don't have any sales. How would you go about building an email list in the next 30 days? Go ahead.
So in this scenario, Scott, am I in a niche or am I in a product-based store?
No, you are in a niche because you followed our advice.
If I was in a product-based store, I would burn it to the, no, I'm just kidding. I would look at what's there and shift to a niche. That would be the answer for a product-based store. And then you could follow along with the rest of this. The very first thing that I would be doing is I would be diving into Facebook groups related to that niche, Reddit threads related to that niche, anything that I could find that would be looking for products, physical products that people in that niche are interested in, so that I could build, Scott, what we've referred to in the past as the ultimate bundle, whether it's for beginners in that niche, advanced people in that niche, whatever it is. So if we use the example of bass fishing, I'd be going into bass fishing forums. I'd be watching bass fishing YouTubes. By the way, Scott, I just said the word forum. If you guys don't know what a forum is, it's kind of like a Facebook group, but old school, right? So I'd be going into forums, Facebook groups, Reddit, and looking for the products that people are interested in so that I could build a bundle of physical products to then run a few dollars a day worth of ads to have people sign up for the chance to win. And that is what, Scott, you referred to as the fishbowl method earlier, the giveaway method. That would be the thing that I would be doing. And over the course of the next 30 days, I'd be spending $5-10 a day, depending on what my budget is, on those ads, most likely coming from Facebook, just because of the targeting options that they give us. And we can specifically target bass fishermen, put up a very basic ad that is a picture or a GIF, which is one of my favorite hacks for Facebook ads. Because it lets you get all the video metrics without you having to create a video, and drive them over to a very basic landing page that allows them to opt in, whether that's through King Sumo, Rafflecopter, any of the giveaway softwares that are out there. And through the course of those 30 days, I would be sending some really basic email messaging to those people. At the end of that 30 days, I would then pull a winner and create a coupon code at the end of that 30 days to say, hey, sorry, you did not win, but everybody's a winner here at Chris's Bait and Tackle, right? Whatever my brand name is. And so I wanted to give you the chance to get 10, 15, 20% off anything that's in our Etsy store. Go check it out. That would be the exact path that I would follow.
It sounds very similar to the path that we did when we built the one for the ecom brand and several other brands. So yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. The one thing I would say though, and this is how we found the products to offer in our giveaway. Yes, you can go and do the research in groups, which I think is smart anyway, to kind of start to understand what people are buying, what they're into and things. You can go on Etsy and see what is popular, like what people are buying, right? Like, I mean, we have Everbee, we can look at those tools and we can kind of see what people are buying. Now, if you're not going to ever offer something like that, then maybe you could just use that as your giveaway. But here's what we did. Here's a little hack for you, is we went over to Amazon and we looked at all of the best sellers in our niche. And then we said, oh, there's 3 or 4 products here. They're crushing it right now. And that must mean that people are searching for it and people are buying it. So maybe what we'll do is we'll buy those products. Yes, we actually invested about $200 in some gifts, right? Prizes. And that was our bait, like fishing, right? To get people in that were attracted to that type of offer, right? And so then what we did is, again, just like Chris said, we put it up on a page, a single page. You can use King Sumo. You can use, like you said, there's other ones out there. And then from there, we just ran some Facebook ads, got that got that momentum going, started building the list. And then we just followed up with them at the very end and said, hey, here's our winner, and everyone else that didn't win, you're still a winner. We're going to give you 20% off on our products, which our products are really close and related to the products that we brought people in with. So that's exactly what we would do starting from day one. Any brand that I'm starting from scratch, whether it's today, tomorrow, or 5 years from now, is going to be using that model because it works so well. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that. Oh, by the way, Chris, we should probably give a little mention here. If you guys want actually our playbook, it's free. There's no strings attached. You can actually go to brandcreators.com/email and you can enter your email and you will be on our email list, which we will send you updates and of these live streams. And we'll be sending you, tips and tricks and all of that stuff and any other trainings that we do. So that's a way that you could become part of our email list, and then we can communicate with you. And then maybe eventually you might buy something, but we're going to give you a lot of value up front. But you can just get that playbook over at brandcreators.com/email. I think it's over 50, 60 pages, screenshots, shows you kind of how everything kind of fits together, connecting the dots. Go check that out if you're interested. Totally free. Like I said, no strings attached. All right. So that is what we would do starting from scratch. So now, Chris, I want to ask the next question that we will dig into, because I know this is one that will get asked, is like, okay, right? That's one way of building your list. But what if I already have customers right now on Etsy? How do I get those customers on an email list? And is it okay? Is it legal? Is Etsy okay with that?
So it's funny, Scott, because we've gotten a comment while we're on here live that said, I heard Etsy's email rules are really strict. And the thing is, they're not, they sound a lot more complicated than they are. So the fact that they even have email rules tells me that yes, it's allowed, because they give us very specific guidelines on how to do that. And the partner that Etsy has chosen to be able to do that with is Aweber. Now, you don't have to use Aweber to send the actual emails. And we had a bunch of people that were saying, hey, I've used a bunch of these things like Aweber and they're not user friendly at all. That's part of the reason why we use ConvertKit to send emails to the end user. But with Etsy specifically, we still hook up Aweber. You can go and get an account from them for free, connect it to your Etsy store. And by default, Scott, and I'd have to go look, but by default, they import a certain time period of emails.
I believe it's just days, certain time.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But there's a little hack that most people don't know. And I'm going to call it a hack instead of a trick or whatever, because you have to dig around a little bit. And they don't make it very obvious. But once you make that connection, say you've been around 5 years selling on Etsy, within Etsy's terms of service and within the agreement they have with Aweber, you can import all of your customers. The only thing you have to do that is ask Aweber support to do it manually. So when you connect your store by default, and again, somebody in the comments can correct me if my number's off on this, but I believe it's the last 90 days worth of sales get imported automatically. If you have more than 90 days worth of sales, all you have to do is there's a little chat icon inside your Aweber account. You can start a little chat there and said, hey, I just connected my Aweber account to my Etsy store. Can you import all of my historical sales? And they say, why, yes, we can. We'll let you know tomorrow, is essentially the response that I've gotten every time that we've tried this. And within a few hours, you notice that instead of having 100 people or 500 people, that there's 5,000 people that are potentially able to be emailed from that list. Now, the only other thing there is just because somebody bought from you doesn't mean that you can email them. Because they're buying on Etsy, they're not expecting to hear from you. So they have to actively opt in, which in the email marketing world, you'll occasionally hear this referred to as a two-step opt-in. Essentially, they are then sent an email by Aweber. So if somebody buys from your Etsy shop, let's say I buy from Scott's Bait and Tackle, I would then get an email from Aweber saying, hey, do you want to hear more from Scott's Bait and Tackle? So we're not going to get all 1,000 historical customers, but we're going to get 40, 50, 60% of those people to opt in to hear from us. And we've seen that number hold pretty steady in the stores that we take a look at, especially if you make a few tweaks to that email that goes out to just make it look a little less robot-y and a lot more human. But once you have that done, every customer that comes in will then get that email and has the chance of being added to your list. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The thing is, like, people say like, well, isn't Etsy, don't they frown upon you collecting emails? The answer is they used to, but now if you look at the documentation, so if you go into integrations, I don't have it pulled up on my screen here, or I would share it with you, but if you just go into integrations in your dashboard, and then from there you find Aweber, or yeah, I think it'll say Aweber. You click on it, it will explain why they want you to collect emails and what they want you to do with them. They want you to send them emails to drive traffic to Etsy. It literally says it right there. Now, if you don't do that confirmation email, which is basically automatically in there, the cool thing is, and here's another little tip, and we actually share this inside of our 7-day cha-ching challenge, where we actually show setting it all up and all of that stuff. But what you can do is you can customize that message so it's not just a generic, like, do you want to confirm your subscription? Like, I don't want it to say subscription. I want it to say, do you want to hear from us? Or thank you for your order. And then inside of there, you can say, hey, thanks so much for your order. We really appreciate it. We're a small company, and we really love serving the bass fishing market. We occasionally have some special offers, promotions, giveaways, and things like that. If you would like to hear more about that, click the I'd like to hear more button, right? And you can customize all of that stuff. So that way there, it's not just their generic Aweber message. So that there is something that I would definitely do. It will increase how many people actually confirm that subscription. Because if they don't confirm, you can't send them emails. You don't have to do anything. It's just inside of Aweber, it will kind of sort them like confirmed, non-confirmed, right? And the confirmed ones are the ones that are going to get your emails. So some people would say like, well, I've been doing this and I really haven't had anybody, I've had 50 sales, and out of those 50, I've only had like 2 people that confirm. It could be that message. So you might want to change that message, make sure that that message is speaking to those people and is also more tailored towards you or from you. So this way here, it's not just a generic like template, like boilerplate template, that's what we want to do there. So yeah. And if you already have a backlog of customers, man, you should probably do that as soon as you get off of here, right? And you'll have a little email list that you can start working with, right? And the way I look at it is, even if you only have 10 people on that list, it's 10 people. Email those people. Let them know, let them know something's coming up. Let them know you got a new offer. Let them know that it's Mother's Day coming up or whatever, right? And let them know that you have something special to offer, or you're going to do a giveaway, which another thing you can do is you can do little giveaways. Like that's a cool way to add a little goodwill to that list.
I think that's one of the biggest common misconceptions, Scott, about email marketing, is that you have to have a list of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people. I did an email marketing audit for somebody this week. And they have 300,000 people in their database, 200,000 of which they didn't know existed, and they still did almost $250,000 from email last year. But they forgot about 200,000 people. Right? We're not talking about that. You don't have to be at that level. We've done several $1,000s. And Scott, do you remember how big the list was in the e-commerce brand when we did the first product launch? I can dig up the number if you don't have it.
I think it was around 4,000 or 5,000 emails.
And do you remember what those product launch numbers looked like?
Off the top of my head, no, but I will say it was around 100 to 125, 140-ish product sales within a 7-day window.
Yeah. And so again, that's a bigger list than we're probably going to see just from customers, but those also came from the fishbowl method.
Yeah. That wasn't customers, by the way. That was not customers. Oh, looks like we lost Chris there. So I'm going to fill in here. But yeah, that was not customers, by the way. Those were just people. We call it the fishbowl method. If you guys are tuning in a little bit later, if you skipped ahead in the video, the fishbowl method, the reason why I coined it that is because my wife and I, before email marketing was even a thing that I knew I was doing, we had our photography studio, which years ago we had a photography studio, and we did a gala for our kids' school. And we offered, we wanted to go there and, we donated a free photography session for a family, right? And so we basically set up a little table, a little booth, right, with our stuff. And we had a fishbowl on there. We said, hey, if you want to win an additional chance to have a photography session in our studio, a $200 value, just write your name and email address, fold it, and put it in the fishbowl. And at the end of the night, we'd pull one out. We'd go, the winner is, and then we would announce the winner. But then we had 75 other people that didn't win, and now they became part of our email list. And by the way, back then, I don't even know if, well, Aweber was just coming on the scene, I believe, but I used like Outlook Express, and then I blind copied everybody. And that actually helped us fill our photography sessions. So we were booked months in advance. So I was using it back then and didn't even realize what I was doing. But that's the fishbowl method. Very similar to the giveaway, right? We drew people in that were families that wanted family photography. And then we were able to follow up with those people to let them know when we had sessions coming up or the holidays were coming up, book your appointment. Here's a new theme that we're going to be doing this season, whatever. And then that helped us fill our studio. So that's the fishbowl method. Same thing works in the giveaway, the way that we're talking about it online now. It looks like Chris is back. So Chris, I don't know where you went, but you disappeared on me, man.
This is why I have 2 internet connections. When one goes out, I can just switch networks. It sounds like you picked up right where I left off. So that's not too terrible. So Scott, now that people know there's 2 main ways that they should be getting people on their email list, that is using a lead magnet. In the case of 99.9% of people, the easiest thing to do is something like the fishbowl method, using essentially a product giveaway to get people onto the list.
Yeah.
And they should be adding their integration in, whether they're using Aweber to actually send emails or they're then moving them onto another platform like we personally do, just because we like the other platform a little bit better for our style.
Sure.
So people understand how they're getting emails. But do we just send sales stuff all the time? Like, how should we be communicating with these people? How frequently? What kinds of things should we be sending? And do we have to sit down and design an email, or can I just write it like I was writing it to a friend?
Well, no, you definitely want to write it as you're writing it to a friend. You want people to, and I think Etsy is even a little bit more of a platform where when you're sending emails, you want it to be sent from, like for me, it's being sent from Lisa, right? My wife, because it's her Etsy shop. And I know her style of writing and things, and I know what she wants to, basically promote, or what she is doing, or a new design or whatever. Right. So I am technically kind of writing for her, but I know her style. But you definitely want it to be a personal feel. And I think the challenge for a lot of people, they think that it has to be a promotion every time, which it shouldn't be a promotion every time, because what we want to do is we want to let people know we're a real person. We have real things going on in our life, but it should be something that's pertaining to the niche. Okay. So in this case, let's say we are in the bass fishing niche. It might be like, hey, I just wanted to check in this past weekend. I was able to go fishing with my boy and we caught a 5-pound bass, right? It was awesome. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend, and hopefully you guys had some great catches too. If you did, I would love to see it. Send me an email back and let me know. Talk to you later, Scott, right? And then in the PS, it might be like, hey, we just added some new, bass fishing tote bags, in our shop over on Etsy. Head on over and check out, the new designs. That's it. Just a little PS, right? That's it. So you don't have to send promotional emails every single time, and you shouldn't. Now, I am a fan, and I've been doing this a lot more with my wife's Etsy shop, is where I am sending probably 3 to 1, meaning I'm sending 3 emails that people can buy stuff and only 1 that they can't. And the reason why I switched that up a little bit is because I found a way that was like, I can still tell people about something I just created, and I'm excited about it. And I'm passionate about creating this stuff, right? So I think Etsy's a little bit different because we are creating the designs. And for me, it's like, this past week, I was inspired to create this new design because I saw this and it made me think I should probably create one for, this niche, right? I'm really happy on how it turned out. I can't wait to see how it looks in your home if you decide to get one. Man, I just love creating. I'm so glad that I'm able to create these designs and have people smile when putting them in their home, something like that. Like that could be the email. It's me talking about, I'm enjoying the passion of mine, the niche, and creating stuff to give to people as a gift, or to give to people that bring them joy. Does that make sense?
Now, Scott, you said, so you're sending 3 kind of informational things to one of those, or you're sending 3 of those to one informational
yes,
type.
which is kind of reverse on how we used to do it. It's more of a hybrid. I look at it because I'm still sending an email to let people know that something's going on in my life, right? But it's always related to the niche. And then from there, it's like last week I didn't email as much as I wanted to because I was busy creating and I got caught up in it because I was having so much fun, right? And then I just kind of build off of that. Really short, nothing big. And honestly, like I always look at the unsubscribes to see like how that ratio is. It's very low. So yeah. So again, you got to tweak and play with it, like whatever works for you. Now, brand creators, on the other hand, I send a lot of informational with a little bit of a blurb in the bottom that says, if you want additional training, you can go here. But a lot of the stuff in the top is just value. So you just kind of have to adapt it to whatever you are doing and where you're comfortable.
And I think once you understand the types of emails, which we should probably cover really quick for everybody,
yeah,
it starts to make a lot more sense. So it essentially boils down to 3 different ways that you can send an email. The first one, and the one that everybody thinks of, is a promotional email. This is the kind of stuff you get from Best Buy that has every product that's on sale. It's essentially the circular for the week. It's also the kind of email that you get, for Black Friday. Hey, everything in my Etsy shop is off, 20% off for Black Friday. That's a promotional style email. That's the type of email you only want to send when you're trying to push promotion, when you have built up that goodwill. The second type of email is what we refer to as a content-based email or a goodwill type of email. And that's usually mostly content. So, hey, Bob, you might want to go check out this really cool bass fishing video that I found. I know you're into bass fishing stuff. It changed the way that I'm going to go fishing this weekend. You might want to go check it out. It doesn't have to be our video, just something that we found on YouTube or a blog post that we found, something like that. And those are the emails that build the most goodwill. The hybrid email, Scott, the one that you were just talking about, is that third type. And it's exactly what the name implies. It's a hybrid of the other two. And so a hybrid email allows us to promote without promoting. It allows us to sell without selling, because we can say, hey, here's what's going on. I got distracted last week. I didn't get to send you all the cool things I wanted to send you because I was at my daughter's volleyball tournament, or I was busy creating, or I was doing whatever it was. You're sharing a little bit of your personality, just like you would with a friend. And then at the bottom, you say, you might want to go check out some of the cool things that I put together. Here you go. Right. Or, if you want to save 20% on our new designs, here you go. Go over here and get it. Or you just passively link to your Etsy shop in the email. And the reason that is so effective is people don't feel like they're being sold to, because they're not. They're getting some sort of value out of that email. And then if they choose to go over, they do. And they don't have to worry about the pressure of the 20% going away or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It's going to help us even more with the SEO algorithm on Etsy by driving that traffic. All 3 email types have a place. And what you'll find is, as you start sending them to your list in your niche, you'll start to find the balance. The biggest mistake I see people making is they go all content all the time, and they're afraid to ever ask for the sale, which you can't be. And if you find yourself in that place and you can't force yourself to sit down and write, get 20% off, go use the coupon code before it expires, then work your way there by using the hybrid email. The other people go 100% the other direction, which is they send nothing but promotional emails. The only time they use their email list is to say that they are running a 20% discount. That can work, but it's not the most effective use of that. The better way of doing that is by using all 3 of those together. You get the highest return on investment out of that. And Scott, how long does it take you to write an email that's not a sales promotional email, just like the hybrid email that you were just talking about? Is it 2 hours? Is it 15 minutes? What's the time commitment for something?
Yeah, it's generally 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops. But generally, and again, because I've been doing it so long, I kind of have I think every email. So I write for 3 different brands right now. And one of them is really strictly a content site. So I don't even sell products. It's more affiliate stuff and content, because I want people to go to the content, because we get paid for advertisers that go to that site. And I've been doing that. I email 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that one there, I've templatized to where I literally just fill in the blanks, but it's still personalized. And then I always put in an email like that, I will put in the footer, like, if you no longer wish to receive these emails, with tips, tricks, and whatever, then hit the unsubscribe button below, and we can part as friends kind of thing. Right. But that's basically it. Yeah. So 15 minutes tops. Because the thing is it doesn't have to be a letter, right? It doesn't have to be something. Now it could be, but it doesn't have to be. I'm more of this. I like to be more on camera, and because I can just talk and I don't have to write, and I'm not a good typer. So now that I've been creating a lot of YouTube video for like the brand creator stuff, I like to just write a short little email about what they can learn. And then I like pointing them over to the YouTube video because it's just easier for me. Right. So you almost have to, if you like writing longer emails and you're good at it, then yeah, add more story in there and things. But what we really want from people is to get value. And someone had wrote, like in here, I think it was Melanie, and said like, sometimes you get a bunch of cheesy emails, and it's obviously meant to get more sales from companies, and it's more off-putting and annoying than it's enticing me to check out their stuff. So maybe be cautious with how often you're email, because I'm sure I'm not the only one. And that's true, but there's also a way to not be cheesy, and there's a way to do it in a way that is personal. And it's like, it's real. And yes, that person's in business, that you can buy something, but it's like the email. I send out 3 emails a week, pretty much on all the brands. But let's just take brand creators, for example. Like if I'm not doing a promotion for a class coming up or a training to let people know about it, I'm sending Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And in that email, it's literally a give. I'm giving, right? But in the PS, there is ways that you can go to our products and check them out. But I'm not saying to go there. I'm just saying, if you want additional training, here you go. Right. But in the very first part of the email, the bulk of the email is like, here's this thing that you can learn how to do X, Y, and Z. Go check it out. Hopefully it helps you. Talk to you soon, Scott. Like, that's it. So that's like, it shouldn't be cheesy, right? It shouldn't be forced. It should be very, very simple. And not overly thought out as far as like, you have to say things a certain way and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would say a general rule would be just make sure you're touching base with them once a week. You need to think about your list as kind of writing to your best friend.
Yes.
The other lesson that I want Melanie to take from this, and anybody who's thinking like that, one of the objections that we get all the time is like, I hate getting emails. Okay, that's you, right? There's hundreds of thousands, millions of people that don't mind getting emails as long as they are good. So take a look at the things, Melanie, that make you think that email is cheesy, and just don't do those things. The biggest thing that you can do is commit to writing to your list as if they were your friend. And what that ends up doing is it ends up with you being much more transparent, honest, and feeling less cheesy, less markety, all of those kinds of things. Because even somebody like Melanie who says it's obvious that they're trying to get more sales from me, if you're doing that connection building at the beginning, it's okay to use the hybrid method at the end and say, hey, you might want to go get this, because that's exactly what you would do with a friend. Hey, Melanie, I'm just checking in. I haven't heard from you in a little while. I just want to let you know I found this really cool video that you would absolutely love. Chris, P.S. Did you use your Kohl's cash yet? Right? Like you told me a couple weeks ago that it was expiring, right? That's getting Kohl's sales, but that doesn't feel cheesy. That is honest. And so if we have something that is honest and we say, hey, go check out our shop at the end, no one gets rubbed the wrong way by that. And the other thing, Scott, is you can't be friends with everybody. Just like you can't be friends with everybody in the real world, you can't have everybody on your email list. And if someone wants to unsubscribe from your list, that's totally cool, because they're not going to be a long-term person you want to communicate with anyway. People have to understand the push and the pull of marketing, right? It's okay to push people away by the way that you communicate, because that's how you communicate. And if you're not communicating authentically with who you are, right? If you're a person that has, an absolute potty mouth and you write the world's most uptight email, it starts to feel like a lot more work. And so by being just a little bit more transparent, right? You don't have to drop an F-bomb every other sentence, but letting one fly occasionally might be okay. And you're going to have one person that emails you back and says, hey, I can't believe you would use that. I'm very, very, very offended. Right. And that's okay, because that's not your ultimate customer. Right. I'm not saying go drop F-bombs in your emails, but if that's your personality and that's the personality of your brand, if you're an aggressive brand, that's okay. And you can't please everybody. And that's the other thing I wanted people to take away from this.
Yeah, for sure. You can't please everyone, and you don't necessarily want to please everyone. People get all, freaked out about unsubscribes and all of that stuff. Well, the thing is like, if you attracted the right people, and if you you're honest from the day they subscribe, right? Then there should be no problem, right? And some people are going to unsubscribe, right? But the way I look at it is this too, is like when you are having someone come into your email list, right? They're coming in and they're visiting, let's say, it's really important that you let them know who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? Like I know my wife, whether she made money from the Etsy side, she'd still love creating this stuff. She just loves it. She enjoys it. She's passionate about it. It's an outlet of creativity for her. And so she loves it and enjoys it. So she would want to share it with a friend. Not that her friend has to buy it, but she'd be like, hey, check this thing out that I just made. I think it came out really good. What do you think? Right? That's kind of the back and forth that we're writing from, right? So to me, it's like, I'm not like, oh, I hope this person buys. We're going to try to, really, really press on this person so they buy. That's not what it is at all. It's more about like, I'm passionate about this and I just genuinely love this and I'd be doing this even if I didn't get paid. But you know what? We want to support the niche and, this community, of bass fishermen that we're creating this stuff that we would wear and that we would have our kids wear, or we would put into our cabin or whatever, right? Whatever you're designing. That's kind of the mentality. And if that mentality is there, then you should feel good about sending emails. Like Chris said, if you're sending an email that you feel, oh, it's a little salesy, ooh, it's a little this, would your friend feel like it wasn't you, right? And that's really, I think, the filter that you have to kind of put in place of your own self. So, all right, Chris, let's dig into a few questions here. I know we're kind of running out of time here. Let's jump into some questions and kind of knock through these.
Yeah, so let's recap really fast, and then I start a bunch of questions that came in. So one, if you're not using email marketing, whether you're selling on Etsy, you have your own thing, you need to be doing it. If you're selling on Etsy, they give us a very easy way to start building an email list. That is just hooking up Aweber to Etsy and collecting emails from people who are already buying from us. If we want to grow the list beyond that, we're going to use something to attract people to that list. That's what's called a lead magnet. One of our favorites, especially for physical product brands, would be a giveaway, which we refer to as the fishbowl method, right? Anytime you've gone into a small business in your local hometown, there's likely either a fishbowl or a bowl or a glass jar or a vase, or you can put in business cards or whatever it is. And then you have the chance to win a prize. It's essentially that same methodology. Once you have some people on the list, you need to be emailing them regularly. You don't always have to sell them something. You don't always have to be pushing them to Etsy, and you shouldn't always be pushing them to Etsy. But every once in a while, it's okay to do so, especially if you're doing it in a low friction, non-try hard way where you're saying, hey, by the way, we're running 20% off on the Etsy shop right now. Go check out the bass fishing video that I sent over. And if you have somebody that you're looking to buy something for, go save 20%. That's perfectly okay. That's perfectly normal. And by doing this, by capturing those emails, using one of those two methods and communicating with these people regularly, not only are we able to get direct traffic and sales, but we're able to kickstart that Etsy flywheel on the organic side for new products if we use one of those promotional emails or those hybrid emails to launch a new product. Hey, by the way, we launched a whole bunch of new stuff. You know how I said up above that I was really busy last week designing new things? All of those things are live in our store right now. Go check them out. That's going to help us kickstart that Etsy flywheel to get us the SEO traffic that everybody's after on the Etsy platform. Does that make sense, Scott? Did I miss anything there?
No, that's perfect. Great little summary. So yes. And I think you can start whenever, right? Like if you haven't started yet, you can start, and you can start simply by just connecting your Aweber account to Etsy, right? And getting that going so that at least that's in the process, or the system is built, right? So that way that's automatically happening. And then I would add that I would start writing emails, even if it's only to 5 people, right? So you can start getting into that practice of writing and where it becomes easier. And the other thing I would add, Chris, is I would definitely make sure it's once a week. And I would make sure that you make it the same day every week. And the reason why isn't because then people are going to look forward to it and all of that stuff, which that may be the case. But one of the main reasons why I say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because it's my schedule. Now I know that Monday on my calendar, it says I need to write email. I need to write email for, this, brand. And I need to sit down and write that. And I give myself a half hour, even though it takes me about 15 minutes, but I give myself half hour. It's on my calendar, 8 o'clock every Monday. Wednesday, 8 o'clock, it's an email. 8 o'clock on Friday, it's an email, right? So it's there. It never gets missed because of that, right? And then one little tip here I'll give you guys, depending on what tool you're using, and I believe Aweber allows you to do it. We're using ConvertKit. We use Aweber, but that ports ours over into Aweber because it's free. And then what we do is we do an export over into our ConvertKit account. That's just preference. I used Aweber. That was my first platform I ever used. And I think, Chris, when you and I met, we started building out The Amazing Seller back then, but now Brand Creators, it was all off of Aweber. So that was the platform I was using, and that's what I started with. But I've transitioned through a lot of different ones. Infusionsoft, the other one that we used, Chris, Active Campaign,
SendGrid. We've done a bunch of different stuff, and I've used a lot of the corporate solutions too that are, Marketo and some of the Salesforce, right? Like, just use whatever you're happy with. At the end of the day, it's how often you use the tool and how likely you are to use it. And so find the thing that's lowest friction. I know we had somebody, maybe it was Michelle, who had said, I've used a bunch of different things and I don't like any of them. The answer is find one that you like, and there's a way to get the emails in there. The lowest friction thing you can do, just sign up for the free Aweber plan and connect it over. And then
subscribers free, right?
Yeah. And if you hate it, then all you have to do is export them, and you can either do it manually or you can get a little nerdy and use something like Zapier to do it automatically, which is what we do because I'm a lazy nerd. And so that's what we have set up. So Scott, with that out of the way, let's do kind of a rapid fire through some of these questions.
Sure.
The first one that we had was, I read that Etsy has really strict rules on emailing. Being a new shop, I've been nervous about contacting my customers outside of Etsy messages. I would actually be more concerned about contacting customers inside of Etsy messages than outside of Etsy messages, just because there are more rules for what Etsy has and says that you can say and do inside of Etsy messages than there are for email. Etsy's email rules essentially mirror the laws, at least in the, it would comply with European and Canadian laws as well, which is double opt-in. So basically, because somebody hasn't signed up specifically to hear from you when they buy a product from you, you have to opt them into the list. And that's what happens automatically once you connect Aweber to your Etsy shop. They will send out that email notification to say, hey, do you want to hear from Chris and Scott's Bait and Tackle? If yes, click the giant button. And once they click yes, then Etsy doesn't have any rules beyond that in terms of what we can do with that traffic. We then own that customer. And if we have a Shopify store, we can send them there. If we want to send them back to the Etsy shop, we can do that. If we just want to send them YouTube videos all day, we can do that as well. So don't get freaked out. Etsy very specifically allows this, and they have a dedicated connection built into their integrations tab that is designed to help you capture those customer emails, because they know, like Scott and I know, that email marketing is one of the best ways to build long-term value in the brand. And if their goal is to help brands cement themselves on Etsy, which it appears to be based on all of the other things that they're doing, they need to make email marketing a part of that mix. So as long as we're not like, never buy from Etsy ever again, they suck, we hate them, we don't, right? Then we don't have to worry about it. And even in that case, if they've opted into our email list, there's not much Etsy can do about it at that point. So we don't have to worry about it. But don't get freaked out. Just hook it up and follow the rules. They're very basic. As long as someone has opted in to hear from you, you can email them. Emmanuel had asked, is there a way to bring previous Etsy customers and shop followers to a brand new email list? The answer there is yes. And once we have that Aweber connection set up, like I mentioned a while back, all we have to do is contact Aweber's customer support team, let them know that we have integrated and we'd like them to import our previous customers. They handle all of that. They just bring the list in manually. Whatever email you have set up to go out as that confirmation message, right? The one they're clicking the big giant button on to say that they want to hear from Chris and Scott's Bait and Tackle. That's the email that automatically goes out to those tens, hundreds, or thousands of previous customers that you've had. It will go out one time. Anybody that opts in for that will then be on your email list permanently. Scott, if we are go ahead.
I was going to say the one thing, and you're probably going to bring it up, but the one that I don't want to skip over, and I want to make sure that we handle here is, how do you prevent your emails from hitting the spam folder? That's a big problem. We've struggled with it ourselves, and we've done a lot of tests. We've paid for software to help us identify how not to go in the promotions tab, all of that stuff. And it is something that is annoying, right? Because if you're a business, but you might not be sending those Best Buy email types in, like, how do I get out of that promotion? Here is what I would recommend. This is what we've learned over the years of testing and trial and error. And this is it. Very, very simply. Number one, ask yourself, are you sending an email the way that you would send your friend? Now, the reason why I say that is, would you send an email that had like your logo or a flashing logo in it? And would you have it all stylized like a newsletter would look with a graphic on top and maybe a sidebar? Would you have that stuff if you were sending it to a friend? And the answer is probably no. So we always lean on the side of keeping the email mostly text, an image every now and then of maybe showing off one of your products, but I wouldn't do that until I've established a relationship. Now, this is a little hack, if you will, and this is something I've been using for years. That very first email, now your confirmation email, like I said, you can go in there and customize it. There's no images in there other than a button. I really wish that Aweber wouldn't put a button in there, because that is also something that could make it bounce over to the spam or to a promotion folder. I'm not sure why they do that, but cleaning that up again, so this way here, it speaks as a person like you, more personalized, that will help that. But once we get past that and that person has subscribed, I still wouldn't send images. I would keep it really, really text-based. I wouldn't use one of their templates in Aweber, even though you're like, oh, but it looks so pretty and so professional. I want to be a professional business. You're going to land in the spam. You're going to land in promotions. So avoid that, even though it looks sexy, right? It's like, oh, it looks so cool, right? You want to get it delivered, send an email with text, and I would limit it to only one link in the very beginning. And then I might move it up to 2 links, maybe 3. But usually it's just going to be text and one little hyperlink. No images, no button. Like, I wouldn't add any of that stuff. If we can reduce the amount of HTML, that's what it's called, inside of an email, it's going to help us get through a spam filter. Okay. So that's a big one. Okay. So for all you Etsy sellers out there, just brand new, selling and you want to start building your email list, avoid sexy emails with all the fancy graphics and all the things you can do with all the stylized stuff. That is going to prevent you from showing up where you want to show up, and that's in the inbox.
So one thing on that before we move on. So not only does it help you get in the inbox more, right? It's a heck of a lot easier to do if you're not a designer. And oh, by the way, they're more effective. Every study that they've done on this, what everybody says that they want, Scott, is they want those sexy emails. They want to see something that's really well designed, really well laid out. But the data doesn't actually back that up. The data backs up sending emails like you're sending it to a friend. Plain text emails outperform in open rate, which is how many people get it in their inbox and then open it. Click-through rate, how many people open it and then click on the thing you want them to click on. And actual sales on the e-commerce side come more from those plain text-based emails, which are easier to create, right? You don't have to do drag and drop. You don't have to worry about, oh, it's not the right size, or like the stupid image looks pixelated or whatever.
Yep.
You get more deliverability, more open rate, more contact with your people, more engagement, and most importantly, more sales, right? So just do it the easy way. And it turns out that actually works better than doing it the hard way. Scott, if we're doing that giveaway method, the fishbowl method, what should be on the landing page? So for me, it's very basic, especially if we're using giveaway software like King Sumo or Rafflecopter or something like that. They're going to give us all of the elements, but essentially we just need a form to capture those email addresses. We probably want a countdown timer on there, a little bit of text displaying what's in the giveaway, and then a few images showing people what they will win. Something like King Sumo makes this very easy. You don't even have to have a website, which I know is another question that we got, to be able to do this. You can just fill in their blanks and they will give you a landing page that is designed specifically to be optimized for something like a raffle, a giveaway, a fishbowl, right? Yep. Some of those kinds of things.
Yeah, I just threw the link up there for King Sumo. Guys, we are an affiliate for King Sumo. We, again, any products that, or any tools or anything that we use and we believe in, obviously, we're going to promote them, but we're also going to, become an affiliate if they offer that, because that's a way for us to get a little coffee money, so that way it kind of helps support this channel. But even if you don't go through our link, go to King Sumo and they have an example of one, a live, an actual live example of a giveaway and what it looks like, and you'll see that everything is there. So on that page, that is a conversion mechanism. The other thing is, and what I mean by that is like it has a countdown that says, okay, it's going to be ending in 14 days and 15 hours and so many minutes, right? And then it lists out like what's there. It shows a picture of what's going to be given away. And then it might have some bullets. And then you have, put your name and email address in and click giveaway or enter. Then the cool thing is, though, what really makes this work is once you click submit, you go to a thank you page. And on that thank you page, it gives you other ways to get more entries. That's where the virality comes in, where you're able to get that thing to get shared more. So this way here, you get more subscribers and more free traffic because people want to get more themselves. So that's all built into the tool. And I believe right now, if you go to brandcreators.com/King Sumo, there's like a lifetime access to it for under $50. So there's no monthly fee or anything like that. So check it out. Like I said, we are an affiliate for it, so full disclosure there. But we're a big believer in it. That's what we use. It's what we're going to continue to use because it's super simple and you can literally have it set up in a matter of minutes. We actually go through that. There is some lessons inside of, let me throw up that other banner real quick. Where is it here? It's the email. Yeah, there you go. Chris already threw it up there. So brandcreators.com/email. That's our playbook. And we do have some screenshots in there that kind of walk you through some of that. We do have some other additional training that we teach that in our email accelerator training as well. And that's on our website if you want to check that out. So yeah, anything else, Chris, we got here we want to address before we wrap up this live stream?
Two things really quick. So if we do that Aweber customer import thing, we have old Etsy customers, not that they are old, but they bought previously, right? Maybe they're old. I don't know. Does Aweber automatically send the opt-in email? The answer is yes. When they bring people in, they will ask you, what list do you want us to put these on? That's the terminology that Aweber uses. And then as soon as someone is added to that list, which is just a group inside of Aweber, it will trigger the email to go out. So it's whatever one you have set up to go out automatically. Scott, the other thing, and this is something I think a lot of people miss out on that they don't truly understand is, I asked this in the Facebook group, but since you guys are on live, I want to ask you anyway, is there a way to get to people who favorite your store? I would love to ask these people to be on an email list as potential customers. And you can, through Etsy's marketing automation, have a coupon sent to those people, but you can't ask them to join your email list unless they've become a customer or visited your shop and like clicked on the link in your announcement or something like that, right? So are you aware of a way outside of that to get somebody out of the Etsy ecosystem onto your email list?
No, the only thing I would say there is like, so again, your internal triggers, that's different. So like, that's their email. So like if someone, if someone abandons the cart, right? They put the item in the cart and then they leave, they actually have that built into their email automation where they'll send out an email on your behalf, but that's not your email list. Same thing goes for the favorites and same thing goes for a thank you, to someone that just purchased. They'll send that stuff on your behalf, but it's their email list or their database. But what you can do, and we're experimenting more with this. We're going to do more of it too. And I don't see anything where this would be something that you couldn't do. But I am going to be testing this where I would take inside of one of your image slots and put in there if you want to sign up for our VIP club, right? So if you want to get people over to your VIP club, which again, for Etsy, they want you to build an email list, right? And I'm basically going to have them sign up to be on a VIP list where I'll send them special offers to where Etsy. So there's no reason why they should have a problem with this. They want us to build our email list. So that's something that you can play around with, right? And now how many people are going to actually do it there? Don't know. The other place you can put it is in your description. You can put it in all your descriptions and put it in there and say, hey, sign up to our VIP and get special discounts and special giveaways that we do on a regular basis, for, your shop or whatever, right? So that's another way that you can do it. And again, that's something that we're going to be experimenting with and playing around with. But that's a way that you can get people that haven't purchased yet to potentially purchase.
The last one that I had seen come in before we wrap it up for today was something along, and I can't find it now. I was trying to mark all these as starred, but it disappeared on me. Was something along the lines of, if I'm already running a shop in my store, since Etsy doesn't allow us to like stack coupons and promos, how would I do that? And the answer is Etsy when people say like stack, it means they can't add two together. So Etsy's going to give them the best deal. So if you set up a promo code for your email list and send over that promo code and they add that promo code, if that gives them a better deal than the 10% sale that you have going on, they will get that deal. But you don't even have to get that advanced with it if you don't want to. Yes, that would help you track it. But, and Scott, I don't know if you've noticed this, but with the e-commerce companies I've worked with, only about 30 to 40% of the people who buy from an email end up actually using the promo code, which is hilarious to me because they're just leaving money on the table. But the easier way to do that would just be say, hey, everything's on sale for 20%, or the product I'm sending you to is already on sale for 20%. You don't even have to put in a promo code when you get to the checkout. Just go get it. It's already going to be 20% off. And then you don't even have to worry about that. But if for some reason you have a 10% sale going on, and we will occasionally do this with a product launch where we give our email list, our VIPs, a better deal than what the general public would get because we want them to always feel special. If you give them a coupon code that's better than the standard discount, they will get the amount from the coupon code. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's great. Someone wanted to know, are we an affiliate for Canva Pro? Not as of yet. It's kind of weird with Canva. They put you through this whole process to get approved and stuff, and I don't think we've been approved yet. So I don't know. We aren't yet. I did have something I wanted to share with you guys before we do wrap up. Number one, before I give you this little bonus hack here. Okay. This is something that I'm going to give to all of you that have stayed to the end, or anyone that's here on the replay and you've went all the way to the end. I've got something I'm going to share with you guys that has really, really worked for us. It's where you can get more subscribers. Okay. And not have to spend money on ads. So there you go. I'm probably going to do a dedicated video on this as well, but I'm going to give you that here in a second. But before I do, if this was valuable today, could you guys do us a favor and give us a little love and smash the like button, the heart, whatever you can do to give us a little bit of love here, whether it's on YouTube, whether it is on Facebook, whether it is on the podcast. Leave us a review over there. Give us a little love by giving us a little like or a little heart, whatever you can do there, and comment. Let us know if there's anything else that you'd like to hear about this, or if you want us to address another topic on one of these upcoming live streams, because we're doing these on Wednesdays at noon as of right now. So, and I want to thank everyone for hanging out with us on these lives. All right. So the bonus hack I'm going to give you, and Chris, you're going to remember exactly where I'm going with this as soon as I start. So once you build the email list, you build your core email list. Let's say that you build your email list of just 1,000 people, right? And let's say that some of them are from your Etsy shop and some of them aren't, right? Maybe you did the giveaway. Maybe you spent a couple $100 on a giveaway and, you ran some ads, whatever. You built it up to 1,000 people. Here's what we do. If we just want to get a little bit more, or gain a little bit, more subscribers, but also give some goodwill and have more reasons to keep communicating to the list without acting as if we're selling. And that is, have another giveaway and promote it to your list. So here's what I mean, and here's why this is really, really important. Let's say that you just spent $200 running some ads. You built your email list. You got 1,000 people combined with all the other stuff, right? With all your other, Etsy sale people. Well, now you said, hey, we're having a month of April, right? Giveaway for our bass fishing bundle. We have 3 items, 3 of them we just added in the last month, and we wanted to do something cool for the community, So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this over the next 15 days, and you have a chance to win. So all you need to do is go here and enter your name in the hat, and we'll let you know if you're a winner in 15 days. Well, what happens here is these people, yes, they're on your email list, but what they need to do is they need to go to that page, which in our case is King Sumo. They're going to enter their name and email address again. It's not going to automatically put them double on your list, by the way. And then from there, they're going to go to the thank you page. What's on that thank you page? Ways for them to share. And then they're going to share to get more entries. What's that going to do for you? It's going to give you free traffic because they're going to share it maybe in a group. They might share it on Instagram. They might share it on Twitter. They might share it wherever they have people that might be interested in this. They're going to share it. And guess what? If they share it with people that aren't interested, they're not going to enter. So don't worry about it. But this is a way that we've been able to add hundreds of emails for free by doing this. And as we're sending out the emails to our list, this goodwill thing, right? They also are like, oh, Yeah, I'm going to go take a look at their Etsy shop again. I want to see what they got in there, because you're going to mention your Etsy shop in there. So this is a great way to give goodwill, right, to your list. Let people feel excited about something, right? Bring attention to your Etsy shop and get more sales and build your email list. So little bonus hack there for you. Probably got to do a full video on that. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys that little extra nugget there at the end. Chris, is that it? You got anything else before we wrap up?
That's it. That about wraps it up.
Awesome. All right, guys. So once again, thank you so much. If you guys have any other questions, drop them in the comments. If you would give us a little love by smashing that like button or heart or whatever you can do there, that would be amazing. And until next time, take care, take action. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.